Good evening. My name is Keisha Dukert, and I am providing my response in regards to Module 6 discussion of ethical violations and board disciplines. I am from the state of Iowa, and I reviewed several cases, and many of them were in regards to unprofessional conduct and inappropriate relationships. There were several in there that were in regards to a romantic relationship that was created after services were performed, and also just socializing in general with the client outside of having the services of counseling, which is inappropriate to do. The common themes that I saw is that when it came to the discipline, there was typically mostly probation, and it was approximately 2 years that I saw in a lot of the cases. Some of them were different. It just kind of depended case on case, which after reading all this, my question that came out of this was there can be a lot of gray area. And from what I'm learning outside of um, just doing my classes online, is that there's so many different situations and that you come across. So you have to be very careful as a counselor and make sure that you stick to the guidelines, the rules, the code of ethics while you're practicing all times, and even remembering that when you're not actually at work practicing. The case that I had was there was an intake that was performed on a client who decided not to engage in the counseling, and the counselor ended up socializing with the client shortly after that intake, which is inappropriate. The ACA code violation for this was A6E of non-professional interactions and relationships, and then Iowa Code 14755 of professional conflict of interest was violated also. And the outcome of it, there were several outcomes that came out, and I just kind of picked some of the important ones, which was probation. It was a minimum of 18 months, and it had to be they had to have a monitor, which was approved by the Iowa board, and monthly monitors had to be done between the counselors. And then also those monthlies that were done are submitted to the Iowa board for quarterly review. There's also 6 months of continuing education that has to be completed, and that is also on top of the education that you have to get your license reinstated appropriately. If there's any changes to physical address, where you live, anything like that, you have to notify the board. And pretty much anything that happens, or if there's any changes, then you need to make sure that they are known for this, because that is a part of your probation. It is required that the monitor also submits or lets the Iowa board know if there's anything that happens also during the probationary period. If all of this is met, then at the end of the probation, what has been deemed by Iowa board, you can go back to practicing normally with all your requirements as getting your license reinstated. In regards to the counselor impairment, the ACA reference to it as that basically counselors monitor themselves for signs of impairment when it comes to physical, mental, and emotional abuse, and they should get the services that they need to work with the impairments that they're having. The Iowa Code specifically states that there has to be a rehabilitation counselor specifically, and to evaluate the situation of the counselor and what their impairments are, and whatever the determination is, then recommend services from there, whether referred to someone else or whatever it may be. I referred to our book, Daniel 2013, in regards to that we are supposed to do no harm and be competent in all the ways that we handle with our clients, and be very mindful of that. I think that is very important. As I had said earlier, we have to be basically on our A game all the time, and knowing there's so many different situations that we could encounter, and to really know our code of ethics and our state code also. And that is my response. Thank you, and have a good rest of the evening.